Welcome to this deep dive. We're going beneath the surface today, really peeling back the layers of performance to get at the profound truths that make acting truly unforgettable. And today, we're not just talking theory, are we? We're stepping right into the emotional architecture of great acting. Think of it as a blueprint, really, for crafting those undeniable, truthful performances.
A necessary blueprint.
Exactly. And our focus is sharp. Obstacles, inner objects, and psychological stakes. These three critical components, when you really master them, they transform a scene. It stops being just dialogue.
And becomes a living, breathing experience.
Right.
Yeah.
And for you, the directors listening, this isn't just about blocking or staging. It's really about stepping up, becoming that architect, that provocateur even, the emotional engineer guiding actors to their deepest truths.
That's the responsibility. To build this emotional architecture, you have to understand its core components. Not as abstract ideas, no. Think of them as precise commands, tools for unlocking human truth.
Commands, I like that. Specific.
They need to be. What we'll explore today, it lays out the insights you absolutely need to master this domain. This isn't just a checklist,
Right.
It's the absolute core of your craft.
Yeah.
It's the kind of unwavering directive that separates, a competent stage manager from a true architect of human truth on screen.
Okay, so where do we start building this architecture? What's the foundation?
We begin at the foundation, yes. The battlefield beneath the scene. You must understand that great acting is never, ever a haphazard accident. It doesn't just happen.
It feels like magic sometimes, but it's built.
It is meticulously constructed, built not from abstraction, not from intellectual ideas, but from the very blood, memory, and undeniable human need that defines every single one of us. It's about revealing what's truly beneath the surface, those unspoken, often unconscious forces that drive a character's behavior.
And understanding that, it really elevates the director's role, doesn't it? It sounds like we're not just, calling action and cut. We're actively shaping that whole emotional landscape.
You are, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're not just facilitating.
So what does that mean for our approach practically in the room?
Practically. It means your primary question, the one that should echo in every single rehearsal for every scene, must be this. Are you genuinely giving your actors something worth fighting for?
Something worth fighting for.
Yes. Or are they just delivering lines, however prettily? Are you meticulously directing them toward truth, raw, uncomfortable truth sometimes? Or are you passively settling for a polished but ultimately hollow performance?
That's a confronting question.
It needs to be.
Yeah.
Are you constructing a volatile, compelling battlefield for that character's psyche? Or are you just marking the stage where they stand? Because obstacles, fundamentally, are designed to reveal who the character truly is under pressure.
Okay, so they're not just plot points.
Not at all. Think of them as emotional x-rays. They expose what is buried deep within the fears, the desires, the core beliefs. They force the character to show us the real wiring, what's underneath the masks, the defenses, the bravado they present to the world.
Like cracking the shell.
Precisely. Obstacles don't just create drama, they exploit a fundamental human truth. True character emerges not in comfort, but in crisis. Think about life. It's when we're pushed against a wall, isn't it? That's when our ingrained patterns, our deepest fears, our hidden strengths, our true capacity for resilience or collapse, it all surfaces.
Yeah, you see people's true colors then.
Exactly. And for an actor, this isn't just about playing pressure, some abstract concept. It's about tapping into that visceral, instinctual human response to a blocked desire, a thwarted need. That's what transforms a scripted scene into a raw, unpredictable moment of genuine human revelation.
So without obstacles, the objective is just kind of floating there.
Without obstacles, a character's objective is merely a wish, a hope. It lacks weight. It lacks urgency. It's just an idea. But with obstacles, that objective transforms into a profound fight, a struggle. Obstacles inject that crucial weight, that undeniable urgency. They reveal precisely how far the character is truly willing to go to win, what they're willing to sacrifice. That dynamic collision, objective hitting obstacle, hard it again. That is where the gold lives. That's where the electricity sparks in a scene. And crucially, it's where genuine transformation, real character change, can actually take root and become believable.
Okay, so let's define these obstacles more clearly then. You mentioned they're not just impediments.
They are vital agents of revelation. That's the key mindset shift. And there's a critical distinction you absolutely must grasp, the difference between external and internal obstacles.
Right, external feels more obvious.
External obstacles are those clear, tangible barriers you can easily spot in the script or the environment. A disapproving parent literally standing in the doorway, a physically locked door blocking escape, a clear rival for a job, a promotion, a relationship. These are present in the narratives, certainly, and they create the outward conflict we see.
Sure, the plot drivers.
Yes. However, and this is crucial, the most dangerous, the most potent, the most revealing obstacles are invariably internal.
Inside the character's head.
Inside their psyche, yes. These are not antagonists that appear with a sword, ready for some dramatic duel you can choreograph. No. These are insidious voices, deep-seated beliefs about themselves or the world, crippling memories that ambush them. Core wounds, often from childhood, that dictate their reactions long into adulthood. They reside within the character's own mind, their own emotional history.
Can you give some examples? What did these internal obstacles sound like?
Think about these specifically. The quiet, persistent voice that whispers constantly, "You're not worthy of love." Or maybe the searing, vivid memory of a public humiliation, perhaps being laughed at in school a moment, replayed endlessly in their mind, causing them to flinch from any new vulnerability, any situation where they might be exposed again.
Oh, I can feel that.
Or the core wound that screams deep down, they'll leave you if you ask for too much, just like everyone else did. So they learn to ask for nothing. These are the real dragons, directors. These are the internal battles that truly shape behavior.
And they're harder to see, harder to direct.
They manifest subtly. That's the challenge and the opportunity. They don't appear with overt aggression. You see them in deep-seated silence when they should speak up, in acts of self-sabotage that mysteriously prevent the character from achieving their stated goal just when they're close.
Like pulling back at the last minute.
Exactly. Or in avoidance of direct confrontation, even when it's necessary. And often in the profound, sometimes subconscious impulse to stay small, to retreat from their own potential, to not take up space. They are the quiet, relentless saboteurs of a character's greatest desires.
So a character might say they want love.
Desperately.
Yeah.
They might pursue it actively. But that internal voice of unworthiness, that belief they aren't lovable, will subtly, almost invisibly pull them back. It causes them to misinterpret affection, to push away the very intimacy they crave, fulfilling their own negative prophecy. It's tragic, and it's deeply human.
So as directors, it really sounds like our job isn't just about reading the script for what's on the page, but digging much, much deeper, almost like emotional archaeologists.
That's a good way to put it. You're unearthing the invisible forces. Your role in this context is not merely to observe or facilitate. Your role is to become an emotional cartographer.
Mapping the battlefield.
Precisely. You must undertake the meticulous, sometimes painstaking process of mapping the internal battlefield. This means charting every buried belief, "I'm not good enough, I always fail, the world is unsafe," charting every past wound, the rejections, the betrayals, the losses, and every paralyzing fear of abandonment, fear of success, fear of exposure that stands squarely between the character and their objective.
How do you even start mapping that? It sounds complex.
It requires probing, gently but relentlessly. You're not just reading the script surface. You ask questions like, what's the deepest beliefs this character holds about themselves? This thing they want right now fundamentally challenges.
Okay. Finding the conflict point.
Exactly. Perhaps they want to take a huge risk, launch a business maybe, but they carry this deep-seated belief that they always fail. A belief perhaps born from a childhood marked by constant parental disappointment. That belief is the internal obstacle.
So you'd ask the actor about that.
You might ask, what's a memory, even a seemingly small one, a fleeting image that makes your character flinch or want to retreat from pursuing this objective right now? It could be the memory of a parent's sharp, dismissive laugh the last time they tried to be assertive or shared a dream. That tiny memory holds immense power.
Making it specific and personal.
Always. You might even push further. Show me physically what that buried fear feels like in your body when you try to pursue this objective. Does it tighten your chest? Does it make your hands clammy? Does it make you want to literally turn and run? This isn't just about intellectual understanding for the actor. It's about unearthing the visceral, often subconscious resistances that live within the character, and often tapping into something resonant within the actor's own understanding of human experience.
Okay, so once you've mapped this internal terrain and identified these barriers, what's the next step? What's the command?
Once you have this map, once you've helped the actor identify these internal barriers, these dragons, you will deliver the precise, unwavering instruction. You will ask them, how does your character fight through this?
Fight through it, not around it.
Stress the word fight, directors. It is explicitly not about talking about the obstacle. It's not about indulging in the feeling of the obstacle. It's not about collapsing under its weight in a display of victimhood. No, it is about the active, undeniable, often messy struggle against it, even as they feel its full force.
Can you give an example of that fight?
Certainly.
Yeah.
If the internal obstacle is, I always disappoint, the fight isn't the character saying, oh, I'm so afraid I'll disappoint you. That's talking about it. The fight is the character feeling that deep, sickening fear of failure churning inside them, still making the bold choice, still asserting their need, pitching their idea, asking for the commitment, even if their voice trembles slightly, even if their body language reveals the intense inner battle raging within them. The fight is in the doing, despite the internal resistance.
That sounds incredibly compelling to watch, that tension between the inner state and the outer action.
This very fight, the visible evidence of that internal struggle, is precisely where performance ceases to be mere acting, mere pretending, and becomes utterly thrilling. This is where the raw truth of the character shines brightest, in that moment of wrestling with their own demons.
So the real transformation isn't about beating the bad guy.
Real transformation, the kind that resonates deeply with an audience, the kind that lingers long after the credits roll, is almost never about conquering some external villain in a simplistic, plot-driven way that feels too easy, too surface. No, the profound transformation is about the harrowing act of the character standing squarely in the middle of their own psychological battlefield.
Facing themselves.
Exactly. With all those internal obstacles, the fears, the wounds, the negative beliefs raging within them, threatening to pull them down, and choosing to win anyway, choosing to push forward towards their objective despite the internal cost. That brave act, that choice to fight oneself, is what defines character and makes the audience feel something deeply personal, something universally understood.
And witnessing that internal fight, that raw, really personal struggle, wow, that translates into such a gripping, unpredictable, and deeply engaging performance for us, the viewers. It's why we lean forward, isn't it? Because we're not just watching someone act out a story. We're watching someone truly confront themselves, their deepest fears, their history.
You feel the stakes are real.
Yes, it's what makes us feel something profound, that sense of genuine human stakes unfolding right there, right now. It feels dangerous.
Good. Danger is often where truth lives in performance. Now, we've established this battlefield of obstacles, this internal landscape of conflict, but your character requires ammunition for that fight. They need weapons.
Ammunition. Okay, what form does that take?
This brings us to inner objects. Inner objects are the character's essential ammunition for this internal struggle against their obstacles. They are the fuel for the fight.
Okay, define that precisely for us. What is an inner object?
Let me define inner objects with absolute precision. An inner object is a precise mental image, typically of a specific person, a vivid memory, or an exact moment in time that evokes a distinct, undeniable emotional charge within the actor. It resonates personally.
An image or a memory.
Crucially, these are lived memories, not imagined constructs. This is vital. An inner object is a living, breathing fragment of truth, something the actor has genuinely experienced, held, feared, or profoundly longed for in their own lives. Or something they understand viscerally through deep empathy and research, but it must feel real to them. It has to be concrete. It has to be sensory. It's not about making something up out of thin air. It's about accessing something that is, something that has genuine emotional weight for the actor, which they can then channel into the character's experience.
So it connects the actor's own life experience to the character's moment.
It's the bridge. They transform abstract emotion, love, grief, fear, longing into something tangible, visceral, and profoundly alive within the actor right now in the scene. When wielded correctly, they don't just deepen the emotional undercurrent of a scene, they actively weaponize it. They give the emotion purpose and direction.
Can you give an example of how that works, how it changes a simple line?
Consider this powerful, specific example. An actor has the line, "I miss you." Simple enough. But instead of just saying it with a sad tone, their inner object allows them to truly relive in their senses, the specific sterile linoleum hallway where they watched their brother leave for college, knowing deep down it was the last time they'd see him whole before the accident. They don't just remember it vaguely. They hear the precise crackling sound of a final voicemail from that person that was never returned. They feel the exact familiar weight of a hand that once held theirs, maybe on that last day, and the hollow, aching space it left behind when it let go. I must stress the distinction again. It's not imagined, it's relived. Sensory details are key.
Making it utterly specific.
Utterly. This makes the intangible, missing someone, profoundly tangible. It infuses the simple line, "I miss you," with an entire world of personal history, pain, and unspoken feeling. The truth of this statement becomes unavoidable, both for the actor and for the audience watching them. It lands with weight.
That deep connection to lived experience, to something truly personal and sensory, that's clearly what gives a performance that incredible texture, that authenticity. It's not just words anymore.
Exactly. It sharpens the stakes by making them intensely personal. It focuses the character's pursuit in a way that nothing else quite can, because now every single line, every beat, every pause can become loaded with that history, with that specific urgency.
Even the silences.
Especially the silences. They gain an unbearable tension, because the actor isn't just pausing. They're potentially reliving those moments, processing that inner object. The scene itself transforms from mere dialogue back and forth into a war fought with memories.
A war fought with memories. That's powerful. So how do we, as directors, guide actors to actually use these inner objects effectively? How do we deploy this ammunition?
Good question. Let us outline the practical, powerful ways you can guide actors in deploying inner objects. It's about integrating them strategically. Firstly, you can use them to load a line with history.
Okay, how?
You ask your actor, what specific memory, person, or moment does this particular line of dialogue echo for the character? Not just the surface meaning, but the deeper resonance. Perhaps a seemingly innocuous phrase, something simple like, "I just want to be clear," is, for the character, the exact phrase their parent used just before abandoning them or delivering devastating news.
So the line itself becomes a trigger.
Precisely. Or maybe it's the precise way someone once looked at them in a moment of devastating rejection. A specific glance recalled that fuels the delivery of a line about feeling unseen. When that specific memory, that inner object, floods the line as the actor speaks it, when it's actively relived, it stops being mere dialogue. It becomes a direct doorway to the past, laden with all the psychological weight and stakes of that original experience. The line itself becomes an emotional trigger, active in the present moment. Secondly, inner objects are incredibly useful for clarifying a tactic, sharpening the why behind the how.
Clarifying a tactic, how does that work?
You guide your actors to identify a precise image, an inner object, that can sharpen the urgency and the desperation behind a character's chosen action or tactic in the moment. Why this tactic, right now, with such intensity? For a scene involving seduction, perhaps the character seems overly intense, almost desperate. The inner object fueling that tactic might be the crushing memory of being utterly alone and rejected after trying too hard and failing in a similar situation in the past. Or the feeling of being completely invisible. That memory then fuels the desperate, almost primal need to connect this time, to make this particular seduction work at any cost, to avoid repeating that past pain.
So the memory fuels the desperation of the tactic.
Yes. Or for a scene involving pleading. Why are they pleading with such raw need? Perhaps the inner object is the visceral image of someone significant, a loved one, literally walking away from them for good during a past argument, ignoring their pleas then. That specific visual memory charges their current plea with the ultimate stakes of abandonment and loss, making their efforts feel intensely personal and desperately urgent. It makes the why clear and compelling.
Got it. Loading lines, clarifying tactics. What's the third way?
Thirdly, and this is absolutely crucial, inner objects can turn memory into behavioral fuel. This is where they become truly dynamic.
Behavioral fuel, meaning they drive action.
Exactly. You guide actors to identify emotionally loaded images, inner objects that can literally drive the character to push harder, to fight with more ferocity, to take bigger risks, offer vivid sensory examples based on their character's history. The sterile white hospital room where a loved one slowly faded away, fueling a character's relentless fight for control in their current life. An empty crib, a constant aching reminder driving a desperate search for connection or family. A slammed door from their past, symbolizing rejection, now propelling them to kick open the metaphorical doors in front of them now. A missed train, signifying a lost opportunity, making them seize the current moment with absolute ferocity.
So the memory isn't just a feeling, it's an engine.
Precisely. Stress this, directors. These are not passive recollections to make the actor feel sad. They are weapons. They are fuel. The actor isn't just feeling something. They are compelled by the inner object to do something with that feeling, to fight harder, dig deeper, take far bigger risks because the memory demands it. The memory itself becomes the engine of their action, fueling the character's pursuit in a way that simply trying to feel more never could. Inner objects are not there simply to make the actor emotional. They are not a trick to force tears or trembles or a louder voice. Those are mere surface manifestations, and often meaningless if not connected to pursuit. Inner objects are, fundamentally, about meaning. Deep, personal, actionable meaning.
Anchoring the performance in something real.
They firmly anchor the scene in the actor's own accessible history, whether direct experience or deeply understood empathy, transforming scripted behavior into a profoundly lived experience. They serve as the emotional GPS, if you will, that precisely guides every intention, every impulse, and every action the actor takes within the scene. When the actor engages with a powerful inner object, their choices become clearer, more specific, and imbued with undeniable personal significance.
So when an inner object is truly active, truly alive within the actor, the scene just stops feeling like a performance. It becomes, well, like you said, memory in motion. And that must be why sometimes just a powerful silence or a single look can convey more raw truth than a whole page of dialogue.
Exactly. Because it's charged with that undeniable relived history, that inner life.
It's what pulls us in completely, making the audience almost complicit in the character's inner world. Even if we don't know the specifics of the memory, we just feel its weight.
We feel its truth. Now, this leads us directly to the third pillar of this architecture, raising the psychological stakes.
Okay, stakes. We talk about stakes a lot, but what are psychological stakes specifically?
Directors, let me state this definitively right up front. Psychological stakes are not about volume. They are not about how loudly an actor yells or how many tears fall or how much they pace the room. Those are superficialities. Often they're just noise.
So what are they about?
Stakes, in their truest, most potent form, are about need. A real, soul-deep, existential need.
Existential need, okay.
Psychological stakes reside in that agonizing chasm, that perilous gap between what the character desperately wants their objective and what they deep down, often unconsciously, believe they truly deserve, or what they fear is true about themselves.
The gap between want and belief, that's interesting.
That's where the tension lies. The higher the psychological cost of failure, meaning the more failure threatens their very identity, their fundamental sense of worth, their ability to survive emotionally, the more magnetic, the more undeniable the performance becomes. Because the fight means everything.
So it's about what's really on the line for them, personally.
Precisely. It's about the hidden war being waged beneath the surface dialogue, beneath the plot points. What is really at stake for this person's soul in this scene? What deeply held fear, what self-condemning belief will be confirmed as true if they don't achieve their objective right now?
Could you give some examples of those kinds of confirmations?
Will this failure confirm they are truly unlovable, just as that inner voice always told them, maybe echoing a past relationship's end? Will it prove that they will always be abandoned in the end, reinforcing a childhood trauma? Will it solidify the devastating belief that at their core they're simply not good enough, not worthy, a belief perhaps instilled by a relentlessly critical parent or a past failure? These are the real stakes, the The ones that make a character fight like their life depends on it, because psychologically it does.
Wow. Okay. So how do we as directors help actors find and raise those kinds of deep personal stakes?
Your responsibility is to push your actors beyond the superficial plot stakes. You provide the penetrating questions. Instead of simply asking the common but ultimately shallow question, what happens if you don't get what you want? Which usually yields plot answers like, I won't get the job, or she'll leave. You must probe much deeper into the psychological consequence.
What kind of questions cut deeper?
You must ask questions like, what does it prove about you, to yourself, if you fail right now? Make them articulate the self-judgment. What core belief about yourself will be absolutely confirmed if this goes wrong? How will your deepest, darkest fears about who you are be validated by this failure?
Getting right to the core wound.
Yes, and critically, what part of your past, what old pain, what trauma, what pattern are you trying not to repeat right now? What ghost are you fighting? Make the stakes intensely personal, undeniably specific, and gut-wrenching for the character, rooted in their history.
And once those stakes are clear and high,
then and only then do you demand they fight, like it's the absolute last chance they will ever get to disprove that negative belief, to avoid repeating that past pain. When that raw, terrifying fear, the fear of confirming their own unworthiness, their own inadequacy is triggered, and your actor, as the character, still chooses to fight, still pushes forward, that is the kind of bravery that grips an audience by the throat and doesn't let go.
that's the electricity.
This is where truth lives. This is where stakes become story, real human story. Psychological stakes are what keep your actor from playing it safe. They make staying small, holding back, simply impossible. They compel the character and the actor to risk everything for something truly profound.
Okay, so we have the objective, the obstacles, especially internal, the inner objects as fuel, and these deep psychological stakes. How do we know when it's all working together, when the architecture is sound?
Determining if this emotional architecture is truly firing in harmony. It's not about looking for the obvious signs, like the actor crying on cue or delivering a performance that looks impeccably polished and technically perfect. Those are surface manifestations. They can be misleading, even deceptive. Sometimes the most technically perfect performance feels the most dead. You will know it is working because something fundamental shifts in the room. You'll feel it. The very air will seem to thicken, becoming heavy and charged with unspoken meaning, with potential energy. The work itself will feel inherently dangerous, psychologically precarious, as if something profound and irrevocable is genuinely on the line for the characters and, by extension, for the actors inhabiting them. It will feel charged, vibrating with an undeniable energy. And above all, it will feel undeniably alive, unpredictable.
Alive and unpredictable.
You'll sense a subtle but profound tension, a palpable psychological vibration emanating from the actor, even in their stillness. A truth so potent, it resonates beneath every single line, every glance, every silence. The silences become as loud as the words.
So it's really about tuning into that invisible energy, not just the visible results.
This is where director mastery truly lies. Not in fixing the surface, but in precisely diagnosing what is missing underneath the surface when that energy isn't there. It's not about pushing for more volume or more overt emotion. That's usually barking up the wrong tree. It's about identifying the missing piece of the internal architecture.
Okay, so give us the tools. What are the diagnostic questions we should be asking ourselves as we watch a scene? The emotional x-rays.
Consider these critical questions. Ask yourself honestly, does the actor have something genuinely worth fighting for? Is their objective clear, specific, and deeply needed? Or are they just delivering lines with surface clarity but no real soul, no drive? When the objective is weak or vague, the scene inevitably feels flat, lacking direction.
Right. Is the engine running?
Exactly. Second, do the silences in the scene feel charged with unsaid thoughts, with inner conflict, with impending action? Or are they merely empty pauses, waiting awkwardly to be filled? Charged silences indicate a vibrant inner life, active inner objects, high stakes. Empty silences suggest the inner life is dormant.
The silence test. I like that.
Third, is the character's objective genuinely colliding with a real, palpable inner obstacle? Are they truly fighting through something difficult inside themselves, or are they simply walking a clear path with no authentic resistance? If there's no real internal resistance, there's no fight, and thus no revelation of character. It's just exposition.
Makes sense. What else?
Fourth, and this is a key visceral check for you, the director. Is there a moment in this scene where you feel a physical tension in your own body as you watch, like you're holding your breath because something genuinely dangerous, intimately vulnerable, or truly transformative might happen? Trust your gut reaction. That tension is your barometer for genuine stakes.
Using ourselves as the instrument.
Absolutely. And finally, does the actor seem genuinely emotionally activated, even in moments of complete quiet? Do their stillness, their eyes, their very energy tell you that something profound is boiling just beneath the surface, waiting to erupt or subtly influencing their behavior? Look beyond the lines. These questions will guide you to the truth of the performance, far beyond superficial readings or technical proficiency. They help you diagnose the health of the emotional architecture.
Now, you mentioned internal obstacles are key. Are there common ones we should be particularly aware of, patterns that tend to sabotage characters?
Yes. Let's delve deeper into the 5 most common inner obstacles you will encounter again and again. These are the insidious psychological saboteurs that routinely derail objectives, distort tactics, and flatten stakes, often without the actor even realizing it.
The hidden tripwire.
Exactly. Think of them as emotional tripwires beliefs, deeply embedded in the character's psyche, often born from past trauma, significant failure, or learned survival strategies. They are invisible unless you know precisely how to spot them operating underneath the dialogue in rehearsal. Learn to recognize their fingerprints on the character's behavior.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first and perhaps most pervasive is, I'm not lovable, or its variations, I'm not worthy, I don't belong.
How does that sabotage the character?
This belief fundamentally sabotages intimacy and genuine connection. It manifests when the character believes, at their core, they are unworthy of love, respect, or belonging. This leads them to deflect genuine affection, to shut down emotionally when intimacy becomes available or feels threatening, or even to unconsciously self-sabotage relationships just as they become profound, because deep down they don't believe they deserve it or trust it will last.
What would we see in the actor's behavior?
You'll observe the actor as the character physically or emotionally pull back when vulnerability enters the scene, even as their dialogue claims they desire closeness. They might use humor to deflect, change the subject, or find fault with the other person. This internal obstacle makes the character incapable of truly receiving the love or connection they might consciously crave, creating a tragic, often frustrating, self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay, I'm not lovable. What's the second common saboteur?
The second is, I always disappoint, or I always fail, I can't get it right.
How does that impact their actions?
This deeply sabotages bold choices and courageous action. It instills a pervasive, almost genetic feeling belief that taking risks, putting themselves out there, asking for what they want, pursuing a big dream, inevitably leads to failure, shame, or rejection from those they care about. This inner voice keeps the character small, hesitant, apologetic, and profoundly afraid to assert their true self or their deepest needs.
So we'd see cautiousness instead of courage.
Exactly. You'll see the actor's behavior become overly cautious, tentative rather than courageous, even when the situation demands boldness. This dilutes the stakes of their pursuit because they aren't fully committing. They might hesitate before making a crucial demand, water down their request, or apologize unnecessarily even when they are in the right, because the fear of disappointing others or confirming their own inadequacy is more powerful than their stated objective.
That makes sense. The third one.
The third is, if I ask for too much, I'll lose them. This is rooted in a fear of abandonment tied to need.
How does that sabotage the objective?
This directly sabotages the clarity and the full force of the objective itself. The character fears that asserting their true, profound need, asking for the commitment, setting a boundary, demanding respect, will inevitably drive others away. Perhaps they recall past experiences, real or perceived, where voicing their desires led to rejection or conflict.
So they hold back on what they truly want.
Yes. This leads them to instinctively modify their tactics, to soften their approach, suppress their true urgency, and ultimately settle for crumbs rather than demanding the whole meal they actually need. To the audience, the pursuit then appears muted, wishy-washy, lacking real conviction. It creates a frustrating disconnect because the character seems unwilling or unable to fully commit to getting their objective met, even if it's critically important. They negotiate against themselves.
Okay, number 4.
The fourth common internal obstacle is I have to stay in control. This is a big one.
How does needing control sabotage things?
It fundamentally sabotages vulnerability and spontaneity, two essential ingredients for alive, connected acting. It creates rigid, overly managed behavior in the character. They might be terrified of appearing weak, messy, or emotionally exposed, believing that any loss of control will lead to catastrophic consequences, judgment, or manipulation by others.
So they put up walls.
Thick ones. The character resists emotional exposure at all costs. They plan every move, posture, deflect genuine questions or attempts at connection because showing need or authentic emotion feels profoundly dangerous. From a director's perspective, this makes the actor less available to discovery in the moment, less responsive to their scene partner, hindering genuine human connection, and often making the performance feel guarded, intellectualized, or brittle rather than lived in and flexible.
Right, it closes them off. And the fifth one.
And finally, the fifth, a particularly complex one. If I win, I'll be punished.
Win and be punished. How does that work?
This obstacle sabotages the very triumph of achieving the objective. It can lead to perplexing self-sabotage right at the finish line, just when success is within reach. It injects a powerful, often subconscious guilt or fear into the idea of success itself, twisting the objective into a profound moral dilemma or a dangerous proposition.
Why would someone feel that?
It might stem from childhood experiences, where achievements were met with jealousy, criticism, or negative consequences. Or a belief that happiness is fleeting and must be paid for with suffering. Or that their success will somehow harm someone else they care about.
So how does it manifest?
The character may tirelessly chase what they want, driven by their objective, but then just before achieving it, they pull back, hesitate, make a crucial mistake, or even actively destroy their own chances. Or, if they do succeed, they can't enjoy it. It's immediately followed by anxiety, guilt, or actions that undermine the victory. This adds a deep, unsettling tension to the pursuit and the potential victory, as the audience senses the character is simultaneously drawn to and terrified of success.
Wow, those 5 cover a lot of ground. I'm not lovable. I always disappoint. If I ask for too much, I'll lose them. I have to stay in control, and if I win, I'll be punished.
These internal obstacles, directors, create the very fabric of the internal battlefield. Your duty is not just to recognize them, but to help actors uncover not just what their character wants, but why they are secretly terrified to get it, or why getting it feels dangerous. Then, crucially, challenge them to fight through these internal barriers, not subtly maneuver around them or ignore them. That fight is where true bravery and profound performance reside.
Okay, this brings us to a really practical point. What do we do when a scene just isn't working? It feels flat, lifeless, the air isn't thick.
Right. Directors, if you are not experiencing that visceral, lived-in, undeniable truth from the performance, if the air isn't thick with unspoken tension, if the silences feel empty and awkward, if the fight feels absent or simulated, the answer, I assure you, is almost never to micromanage the line delivery.
Say it louder or more emotion.
Exactly. Don't push your actor for just more emotion. Those are treatments for the symptom, not the underlying disease. Pushing for emotion often leads to forced, indicated acting.
So what is the underlying cause, usually?
When a scene feels hollow, dead on the floor, lacking that undeniable truth, it almost invariably means one of these 3 core elements we've discussed is missing, weak, or underdeveloped.
Let's hear them again.
1. The actor isn't pursuing a clear, specific, personally compelling objective. The drive is either absent altogether, too vague, I want respect, or not deeply needed by the character, leaving them without a powerful reason to act.
No engine.
2, they're not actively fighting through a real internal obstacle. The conflict might be purely externalized. He's mean to me. Or the internal obstacle isn't potent enough. Or the actor's avoiding the discomfort of fighting it. This lack of psychological pressure makes the scene feel safe, predictable, lacking depth.
No resistance, no fight.
And 3, their psychological stakes are simply too low. There isn't enough on the line for the character's core identity, their sense of self, their emotional survival. The consequences of failure don't feel devastating enough. making their pursuit lack urgency, danger, and real commitment.
Not enough personal risk.
Truly great behavior that is honest, layered, surprising, captivating, doesn't come from an actor trying harder to act. It doesn't come from technique applied externally. It emanates from needing more.
Needing more.
Yes, it comes from profound personal investment in the objective, fueled by inner objects. It comes from absolute specificity in the objective, the obstacle, the stakes. And it comes from an acute, visceral awareness of the psychological consequences of failure. So if the scene feels flat, it is almost always undermotivated, not under-rehearsed. The architecture is weak.
Undermotivated, not under-rehearsed. That's a key takeaway. So what's the directive for us?
Therefore, your ultimate directive is clear. Do not give a line reading. Do not attempt to direct emotion directly. Be sadder, be angrier. Your command, your primary function in fixing a weak scene is to direct pursuit. Strengthen the engine, sharpen the fight, raise the cost.
Direct pursuit. Okay, break that down. What are the actions we take?
When you are diagnosing and fixing a weak scene, your precise actions should focus on reinforcing the architecture. First, reconnect them to their objective. Is it clear? Is it specific? Is it active? Make it clearer. Make it more personal. Make it more urgent. Help the actor find their own profound connection to that desperate objective. Ask, what does winning this mean for your character's soul right now? Make it vital.
Reinforce the drive. Got it.
Next, help them sharpen their stakes. Dig relentlessly. Ask again, what belief about yourself will be confirmed by failure here? What past trauma, what old wound are you desperate not to repeat? Raise that psychological cost of failure until it feels unbearable for the character, until playing small is simply impossible. Make it personal, specific, gut-wrenching, until they understand the true price of not winning this fight.
Increase the personal cost. Makes sense.
Then, reignite the inner object. If the scene lacks emotional depth or the silences are empty, guide them back to those specific, potent memories or images that can serve as emotional ammunition. Ask, what are you seeing right now? What memory fuels this moment? Turn that abstract feeling into tangible fuel for their character's actions and choices. When silences are empty, it is often the inner object that is dormant. Awaken it by prompting the actor to recall precisely what that silence, that person, that memory means to them. And finally, related to stakes but worth emphasizing, raise the cost of failure relentlessly. Make the consequence of not achieving the objective so personal, so specific, so viscerally terrifying that the actor, as the character, must fight with every fiber of their being. This often involves identifying and directly challenging those insidious internal obstacles. I'm not lovable, I always fail, that might be silently sabotaging the character's pursuit. Help them name the dragon, then help them fight through it, not shrink away from it, because the true, compelling performance emerges directly from that battle.
This has been incredibly illuminating. Can you synthesize this for us? Bring these core components, obstacles, inner objects, stakes together one last time.
Yes. Consider this. Obstacles, particularly the internal ones, create the very battlefield upon which the character must fight. Whether that battlefield is defined by a physically locked door, a loved one's withheld hug, or the crippling, pervasive belief that love will always inevitably end in loss. Obstacles define the conflict.
The terrain of the fight.
Inner objects are the essential ammunition for that fight. They are memories, images, sensory details so sharp, so potent, they cut directly through the actor's intellectual defenses, transforming simple lines into desperate demands, ordinary glances into chilling threats, and potentially empty silences into visceral war cries loaded with history.
The power source.
And psychological stakes are the fundamental force that compels the actor, as the character, to leave the safety of the shallow end, to risk emotional exposure. They make it impossible to play small, to hold back any part of themselves because the cost of failure is too profound. This, directors, this is the emotional architecture of great acting. It is not some abstract academic concept. It is built in blood, in memory, in profound, undeniable human need.
And as the director, we're not just watching this happen. We are the architects, the provocateurs, the emotional engineers who oversee its construction moment by moment. Mastering this understanding, this approach, it unlocks those true, unforgettable performances, the ones that stay with you.
The ones that feel like truth. Ask yourself these questions with unwavering honesty. Are you genuinely giving your actors something truly worth fighting for, something that resonates deep in their character's soul? Or are you merely settling for them reciting lines with competency?
A crucial distinction.
Are you meticulously, relentlessly directing them toward the brutal, beautiful truth of their internal struggle, however uncomfortable that might be? Or are you passively accepting a polished performance that ultimately lacks soul, lacks danger?
Easy to do sometimes. Settle for polished.
It is. And finally, are you constructing a volatile, compelling psychological battlefield for their character within the scene? Or are you simply marking the stage where they're meant to stand and speak? Because when the need is real, when the objective is vital, when the fight against the internal obstacle is profoundly personal and fueled by lived truth, the performance, the truly great, unforgettable performance, will take care of itself. Obstacles and inner objects don't just challenge the actor. They forge the performance, transforming craft into lived, undeniable truth.